I've always been a firm believer in the idea that a man's home is his castle. That's why when I went house hunting I had one non-negotiable rule: no homeowners association. I wanted the freedom to paint my house whatever color I liked, to plant sunflowers in my front yard, and maybe even park my pickup truck on the grass if I felt like it. After months of searching, I found the perfect spot: a cozy little house on a decent-sized plot of land, nestled right at the edge of a well-manicured suburban development. Most importantly, it was explicitly, unequivocally, not part of the HOA next door. I checked the county records, the deed, everything. I was in the clear, or so I thought. For the first few months, life was bliss. I painted my front door a cheerful shade of yellow. I started a small vegetable garden. I even bought a ridiculous, oversized flamingo lawn ornament, just because I could. It was my little slice of freedom, and I was loving every minute of it. The trouble started subtly. A letter appeared in my mailbox, printed on fancy letterhead with the logo of the Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association. It was a polite but firm notice about my lawn needing to be mowed to a specific height. I chuckled, tossed it in the recycling bin, and thought nothing of it. It was obviously a mistake. A week later, another letter arrived. This one was less polite. It cited a violation for my unapproved garden gnome. Now, this was getting weird. I wasn't part of their association, so their rules meant nothing to me. I decided to ignore it again, assuming they would eventually figure out their error. But they didn't. The letters kept coming, each one more aggressive than the last. They fined me for the color of my door, for the clutter in my driveway, which was just my own car, and for the unseemly flamingo. The fines were racking up into the thousands of dollars on paper. It was absurd, like getting parking tickets for a car parked in your own garage. I tried to be the bigger person. I found the contact number for the HOA president, a woman named Karen Her name was literally Karen. I called her and explained, as calmly as I could, that my property was not, and never had been, part of Oakwood Estates. I even offered to send her a copy of my property survey and deed. Her response was chilling. She just said, "We'll see about that," and hung up. The harassment escalated. I'd find HOA board members walking along my property line, taking pictures with their phones. They'd stare at me while I was gardening. It was creepy and invasive. I felt like I was under constant surveillance. My peaceful sanctuary was starting to feel like a prison. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning. I was outside, enjoying a cup of coffee on my porch, when a car pulled up and Karen herself got out. She marched right onto my lawn, clipboard in hand, and started pointing at my flamingo. "This is a final warning," she announced, her voice dripping with condescension. "This violation needs to be rectified immediately, or we will take further action." I stood up, my coffee forgotten. "Karen," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "you are on my property. You have no authority here. Please leave." She just laughed. "Your property. This entire area is under the jurisdiction of Oakwood Estates. You're the one who's trespassing on community standards." That was it. I had had enough. "Get off my property now," I said, my voice low and firm. She crossed her arms, a smug look on her face. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm conducting an official inspection." "Fine," I said, pulling out my phone. "Then you won't mind if I call the police and report a trespasser?" Her smug expression faltered for just a second, but she quickly recovered. "Go ahead," she sneered. "They'll see who's in the right here." So I did. I called 911 and reported an unwanted individual on my property who was refusing to leave. While we waited, she continued to berate me about the state of my yard, the length of my grass, and my tacky decorations. It was surreal. I just stood there silently filming her with my phone. I knew this was going to be important later. 2 police cars arrived within minutes. 2 officers got out, looking understandably confused by the scene. A furious-looking woman with a clipboard, and me, a guy in his pajamas, just trying to enjoy his Saturday morning. Karen immediately launched into her tirade, pointing at me and claiming I was a rogue homeowner refusing to comply with the rules. She presented herself as the voice of reason and authority. The first officer listened patiently, then turned to me. "Sir, what's your side of the story?" I calmly explained the situation. I told him I wasn't part of her HOA, that she was on my private property, and that I had asked her to leave multiple times. I showed them the video I had just taken of her refusing to leave. Karen scoffed. "He's lying. His property is clearly part of our development." The officer then asked the crucial question, "Ma'am, do you have any documentation proving this property falls under your harsh jurisdiction?" She fumbled with her clipboard. "Well, it's common sense. Just look at it. It's right here." The officer sighed. "MAAM. Common sense isn't evidence. I need to see a plat map or a deed that includes this address." She had nothing. Of course, she didn't, because no such document existed. I, on the other hand, was prepared. I went inside and brought out my folder. Inside was my deed, my title insurance paperwork, and a highlighted county plat map that clearly showed my property line ending just outside the boundaries of the Oakwood Estates development. I handed the folder to the officer. He reviewed the documents carefully, his expression growing more serious. He walked over to the edge of my lawn, looked at the map, and then looked back at my house. He then walked back to Karen. "Ma'am," he said, his tone now official and firm. According to these official county records, this gentleman is correct. His property is not part of your HOA. You are currently trespassing on private property. The color drained from Karen's face. He stammered. But the developer, he said. The officer cut her off. I don't know what a developer told you, but the legal documents say you are in the wrong. You need to leave his property immediately. Karen stood there, stunned into silence. The second officer added, and ma'am, based on the homeowner's account in this video, you could be facing charges for harassment and trespassing. I'd suggest you and your association cease all contact with this resident from now on. Defeated, Karen turned without another word, got in her car, and sped away. The officers were incredibly professional. They apologized for the disturbance, gave me a card with a case number, and told me to call immediately if anyone from the HOA bothered me again. The sense of relief was overwhelming. It was finally over. The letters stopped. The creepy surveillance ended. The silence from next door was beautiful. A few weeks later, I received a formal letter of apology from the HOA's legal counsel, stating they had made a clerical error and that all fines were I never heard from Karen again. Now, my little slice of heaven is truly peaceful. The yellow door is brighter than ever, my garden is thriving, and that ridiculous pink flamingo stands proudly on the lawn, a symbol of my hard-won freedom. It's a reminder that sometimes you have to stand your ground to protect your castle, even if it's just a small house with a tacky lawn ornament. It was a stressful battle, but I'd do it all again to protect my peace. Thanks for watching my story. If you've ever had a wild neighbor's story, drop it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.